بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome back to this segment this week in the Jumu'ah Khutbah. This is where I go through the Jumu'ah Khutbah and summarize it and maybe translate some points from it. Inna alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala khatim al-anbiya. As always, we begin with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we send peace and salutation on the Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Being last week Friday, being a couple of weeks after the anniversary of the 7th of October, we decided to speak about the issues surrounding the conflict in Palestine and in Gaza. So we begin by mentioning one of the verses of the Quran, وَلَيَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will most certainly help those who help Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful and the most honorable. And then we begin a sort of reflection on the events or the crimes of Israel and others in the last year. And so, ikhwatil a'izza, honorable brothers and sisters, from all the crimes that we have seen committed against the people of Gaza, all the crimes that we have seen in the past year that have been committed against Gaza, against the people of Gaza and Palestine, and the silence by Israel. Right? So all the crimes that have been committed against the people of Gaza by Israel, and the silence of the leaders of the Muslims is in fact an attack on all of us, because we are like one body. And it is an attack against the truth. So today, the Muslims have been injured, have been hurt. Their blood has been shed, and the value of their life has been deemed insignificant. And we have seen the vast difference between the leaders of the world and the general population and the general public. For the general population and the general public, they have understood, Muslims as well as non-Muslims have understood, that what is going on in Gaza is a genocide. What Israel is doing is a genocide. And they have been torturing and oppressing the Muslims, right, and the people of Gaza. And they are continuing to do so in the worst of ways, in the most evil and devilish of ways. Subhanallah. By dropping bombs up to 80,000 tons in the small land of Gaza over the last year, by firing missiles at masajid, mosques, at schools, at hospitals, rather even at tents. Subhanallah. And then I mentioned a little in regards to the leaders of the world, their perspective. Right? So we mentioned how the general perspective, or the most people, right? General people, right? Not the leaders, the general people, right? They understand and they see that this is a genocide. And what do the leaders of the world see? وَرُؤَسَاءُ الْعَالَمِ الْجَدِيدِ, the leaders of the modern world, right? And the leaders of the various news corporations and companies, they are adamant of not ever mentioning the deaths in Gaza, the killing of children, of women, of innocent civilians in Gaza, in Palestine, by Israel. So they never mention the crimes of Israel. They are adamant on never mentioning the crimes of Israel without also bringing about the events of September, of 7th of October, as if to justify the crimes of Israel. To the extent that we seen on the anniversary by many of these leaders releasing statements. We've seen them releasing statements speaking about the devastation on 7th of October and how it was the worst killing of Jews after the Holocaust, without sometimes even a mention. Or if it was a mention, it was a mention in passing of the people of Palestine, of the crimes committed against the people of Palestine. Subhanallah. And then we go to the other aspect, how of this conflict, how this is a test indeed for all the ummah. So I mentioned, ikhwati fil haqiqah, my dear respected brothers, in actual reality, this is an imtihan, this is a test. And the shuhada and the martyrs of Gaza have passed this test with flying colors, with the permission of Allah, with the grace of Allah. And they have achieved, the people of Gaza have achieved izzah, have achieved honor in their resistance against the enemy. But what is our situation? What is our status? What is our part in this jihad? Did we help the best that we could? Did we help to the fullest extent of our capability? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the reasons, the cause, the reason for this imtihan, for these types of tests. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ إِن يَمْسَسْكُمْ قَرْحٌ فَقَدْ مَسَّ الْقَوْمَ قَرْحٌ مِثْلُهُ. If you were inflicted by a blow, then previous nations were also inflicted by similar blows. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ, these are days, نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, we change from amongst the people, meaning victory shifts from side to side. الذين إن كنتم وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين إن يمسسكم قرح فقد مس القوم قرح مثله وتلك الأيام نداولها بين الناس وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who is true in his iman. Right? وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاء. And so He can take from amongst you, right? Shuhada, martyrs. Subhanallah. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the oppressors. وَلِيُمَحِّصَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can test those who have iman. وَيَمْحَقِ الْكَافِرِينَ. And destroy those who do kufr. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ, do you think أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يعلم الله الذين جاهدوا منكم ويعلم الصابرين? Do you think that you're going to enter Jannah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not know those who do jihad amongst you, right? Who struggle for His cause amongst you, and who are sabr, who do sabr, right? Who have patience, who bear with patience, right? Meaning, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows these things. Allah knows who has true iman, who has false iman. Right? Allah knows these things, but these tests are to make these things apparent. Subhanallah. So, do not deem insignificant, dear brothers, right, your boycotting with Israeli companies, with those companies who stand in support with Israel and their crimes. And do not deem insignificant you're standing in the streets protesting and the spreading of news, of awareness, of information in regards to the oppression that is taking place against our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I know this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need your support, doesn't need your help. Right? In fact, you need to be given the ability to help the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to help the Muslims. This is an honor. Right? This should be an honor, right, if we are given it, and we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. And if we did not help this, the cause, then when victory does come, we have no right, right, to join in the joy and happiness, right, that victory will bring, the joy and the happiness that the stopping of the oppression will bring. Right? We have no right in there if we did not help in any way. Also, I missed وَلَا تَحْتَقِرُوا أَسْلِحَةَ الدُّعَاء, and do not deem insignificant the weapon, right, of dua, right, the power of dua. Right? What percentage of your dua, right, is for the sake of the Palestinians, for the sake of the ummah, for the sake of the madlumeen, for the sake of those who are oppressed. Right? What percentage of your dua is for that? Right? Subhanallah. How many tears have you shed for that? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability. And then we finish the first khutbah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us, bless you all, bless all the Muslims and the believers, and seek forgiveness from Him. Innahu huwal ghafur rahim. Verily He is most forgiving, most merciful. Then we begin the second khutbah. The second khutbah begins by speaking about the hikmah and wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how sometimes we may dislike something, but there is goodness in it for us. Right? And we have a pixel, Allah has the picture. And sometimes we may like something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and actually it is bad for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and we do not know. And then we conclude with this paragraph. Ikhwati wa akhawati fillah, my dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, even though our blood has been spilt, our hearts are filled with grief and sadness, our deen has not been harmed. Our deen is still intact. The determination of the Muslim is still intact. His aqeedah, his belief is still intact. His honor for himself and for his deen is still intact. For verily, the determination of a Muslim is not associated with his ability or with his strength or with his asbab, his means, his resources, or his wealth. Right? Rather, it is associated with his reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For strength will weaken, right? Wealth will finish, resources will come to an end, but Allah is Hayy, Allah is ever living, and He will never die, and He will take recompensation. So what do you think with regards to Israel? Right? When its army is destroyed, right? When its bombs and missiles come to an end, right? When the help that it receives from America and other nations, right, comes to an end, right? For everything will come to an end except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is Al-Aziz Al-Hakim. He is the most honorable, the most wise. And Allah is Al-Muwaffiq Al-Mu'een. He is the one who gives tawfiq, and He is the one who gives help. And so we ask Him for His tawfiq. We ask Him for His ability to give us the ability, right, to help the cause of the Palestinians. Right? Keep yourself fresh, right, in this regard. Right? Renew your intentions, renew your determination in helping the people of Gaza, in helping the madlumeen and the oppressed. Right? Sometimes we become desensitized. So the point of this khutbah was that even though this is an ongoing situation and is gone on for over a year, right, let it not be that we become desensitized to it. Now we're not crying as we used to. Now we're not talking about the issue as we used to at the beginning of the issue. Right? Why? Because it's going on for too long now, so we sort of fall by the waysides. Right? No, we need to continue. We need to continue the effort. Right? This is sabr. Right? This is what sabr is, resilience. Right? Subhanallah, staying on the path, right, of helping those who are oppressed, right? And in any way that we are able to, right, that is permissible in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should strive and we should help. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and all of us the ability. We'll see you in the next one, inshaAllah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.